Welcome
Okay.
to another episode of the Strange Motion Way podcast. I'm your host, Tim Strange, along with my current wife
Very strange.
and somebody that's trying to be a TikTok famous with her daily Hallmark Christmas movie
I'm not
stuff.
trying to be famous at all. I
You're
just am having fun,
just
and it
having
makes
fun.
me laugh. So I know it's making other people laugh.
And tonight, our guest is, I didn't put my notes together. This is AI here, Carrie. I searched
Oh,
Chat
Lord.
GPT. A custom car motorcycle slash TV personality, owner of Fuller Moto. He's been on Overhauling, Carfix, Caffeine, and Octane. What is that? No, okay. Little pop up screen. So he is based out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. I met him, I think, the first time I got to know him when he was doing a lot of stuff with Wildtech. So we'll talk about a little bit of everything. Welcome tonight's guest, Bryan Fuller.
Hey guys, what's happening?
How we doing?
Just pulled up into the home garage. Got a fire going over there. Almost Christmas.
So you got a nice little setup there at home so you can like get away from everything and still do some projects for yourself, it looks like.
Yeah, like I've got a almost 16-year-old coming up. He's going to be driving in 2 weeks. Of course, he's had the car for an entire year. We've got dynamat done, steering column changed, belts and hoses, oil change, and that's been about 11 months.
So he's not dedicated to the craft yet.
Not yet, but I'm hoping, like tomorrow, we're supposed to work on it tomorrow. So I'm hoping that this thing's going to kick in gear because I'm like, look, man, your mom is not going to let you drive a 91 IROC with no door panels and just raw steel. It ain't going to happen. Your fantasies of bolting the seats in with zero sheet metal, like zero upholstery, is not going to happen. So
that's what he's doing, third gen Camaro?
Third gen Camaro, yep. They're super cheap. Like mom was afraid, it's got too much power. But I'm like, babe, your four-cylinder Bronco has 300 horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
This thing is probably not that much. So
does he have a mullet?
And you know what these kids have? They have the fluff. Like you got to have the puff on.
He's got the
You
alpaca.
got to have the puff on front.
Yeah, that's called the alpaca.
Yeah, but he's just discovered grunge music, which is awesome. He's like, Dad, why didn't you like tell me about Alice in Chains? And I'm like, because you were way into hip hop, and and then all of a sudden like baggy jeans are coming around. I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah.
Is he going through your closet?
Yeah.
So let's go back to young Bryan. Were you always a Georgia guy? I don't really know that. Where were you born?
So I grew up in East Texas, small town. My dad was a big hunter fisherman, and so I was kind of like his slave as a child. So we were always, doing drywall or roofing or building decks or deer stands or whatever. So there was always something happening. My dad was a pharmacist, but he was a frustrated craftsman. Would much rather have been in the trades.
A legal pharmacist? We know some people allegedly that are pharmacists, but it's not 100%.
Licensed drug dealer. Yes, my father was a licensed drug dealer.
Okay. Allegedly, we could say allegedly. So was he in any cars or motorcycles? Did he have anything like that he was into?
Yeah, so I mean, he had Jeeps, and we always had four-wheelers and dirt bikes growing up. And then he bought a Mustang when I was in, what was that, seventh, eighth grade, and brought it home. And he's like, "All right, we're gonna rebuild the motor, fry the tires, buy some more tires." And I was just like, "Dad, like, what happened? When did you become cool? Like overnight?" And so, it was kind of like a midlife crisis thing for him. We built the car, and I managed to talk him into a Model A from Pate, the old Texas swap meet that used to go on every year in the Dallas area. So I talked him in. I just can't, looking back, having a 16-year-old now, like I can't believe I talked him into a 1929, chopped yellow 327. It chirped every time it hit second gear,
So about how old were you when he got the Model A?
Let's see. I didn't have a license yet, so I would drive it around the yard. It had a clothes hanger instead of it didn't have a throttle pedal yet, no interior. So, gave me some stuff to do, put a stereo in it, of course.
Cool. So in school, did you guys have any auto program or anything that you took, or machining or drafting? What did you do that sparked you?
No, I was kind of headed, my dad was like, you got to know what you're doing, which is so silly for a ninth grader. You have no idea what the hell you're going to
Yeah.
do. So they were like, you should be a chiropractor. I'm like, all right. I didn't know. So all I wanted was, just to goof off, have a good time, play sports, and, work on my car. And at the end of the day, I was convinced that, by being a doctor, I could make good money and buy myself some super cool cars. And I went to school, got a pre-med degree. My dad died when I was 21, so finished college at North Texas and got a sales job. And I'm like, man, what am I gonna do? I was working on a 50 Plymouth chop top that I was building at home, and got a real
One of our
sales.
one you're skimming over some of your youngness that we'll go back to, but since you mentioned that, one of our past podcast guests owns that car and talked about it. Do you know who owns that car right
Oh,
now?
really? Penny Fletcher?
Fletcher from Pennywise. We
Yeah.
had him on our podcast and we were talking about that. He owns that car.
Yep.
Man,
It's
I tried.
crazy.
He teased me with buying it back, and I was trying to make it happen, and it just didn't. It didn't work out. But yeah, he's awesome.
It might be that's a Pennywise album cover tattoo.
Oh, really?
I'm going the wrong way. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I might be a Pennywise
That's
fan.
awesome.
Yeah. So back to school, you kind of quickly glazed over the fact that you just wanted to mess around. So that kind of leads us into what kind of student you were.
I mean, we had an auto program, but I was playing football, I played basketball. And so I wasn't necessarily in that crowd, so I had probably a couple of friends, mainly older, that I was hanging out with. They were, kind of in the cars really. But other than that, I was kind of it was a very strange hobby for my friend group. It would rain, and instead of, going and watching TV, I would go work on the car.
Mm-hmm. So what was your first daily driver in school?
That was it. Like, I drove that Model A, and then
Oh, cool.
that was all I drove for a while. Then I let it overheat, and my dad got pissed off, and I was on a date with an out of town girl, because it's a very small town. So if there was an out of town girl, you were like, oh my God, there's someone else,
Fresh meat.
someone that I didn't go to elementary school with. This is incredible.
Oh.
So she was like from the big city, from Houston, and she was like sister of she was the cousin of a friend of mine. So I'm taking her back to the lake. I'm watching the temp, and I'm like, oh, all right, I just got to drop her off, and then it'll be fine. Well, it wasn't, and it locked up. So we sat, cranked back up. It was fine. I got home, and then, of course, her parents called my dad and were like, just making sure Bryan got home okay after the car overheated. Yeah. So dad accused me of not taking care of the car, took it away from me, and eventually it burned up in a fire.
Oh.
Yeah. But whatever. I was going to college. I didn't have time to work on it anyway.
Did you have a part-time job in high school?
Yeah, started it was funny. James Foster was a lawnmower repair guy. He's the one that helped us rebuild the Mustang that we worked on at the beginning. He was just texting me. Actually, I'll send you pictures. He texted me pictures of the Pennywise Plymouth when it was original, just today. How funny is that?
Cool.
Oh, nice.
And James he was crazy as a loon, 40 years ago, and he's ultimately crazy as a loon at 85 years old or whatever he is now. And so I worked there at the kind of small saw repair place for summer. But I did a lot of, mowed lawns and waited tables eventually. That was kind of my normal gigs.
So where did you go to college?
I went to TJC junior college at the beginning and then transferred up to North Texas. And at that point, I had a S10 Blazer, 4 kicker 15s in the back, all the way to the ceiling. Boom, boom, boom. And that was like there are these awesome old stories from, there was a guy in our town who's like on the other side of town, Big Bird. He had a Cutlass, of course, that had a huge stereo in the 80s. And then I had the Blazer, the Blaze, as everybody called it. And it had huge speakers. And that was when, no one had big subs like that. So when people come by and like rattle your house, they don't, they were startled back then. So there's like some awesome stories of us, who's got the bigger stereo,
About what year was that when the stereo stuff?
Let's see. So I probably put those 450. I graduated high school in 89. So I probably put those in about 87.
I always thought you were younger than me. That's when I graduated.
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty, that was pretty
He's
early.
Aging better than I am, isn't he? He's aging better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's like, yeah.
Nah. Well, I had a soul patch for like 20 years. And my wife, about 10 years ago, she goes, "Look, it's time to let it go." And I'm like, "Babe, everybody loves the soul patch. It's awesome."
And not everybody does.
She was like, "Your uncle in Oklahoma who's 60 has one." And I was like, "All right, fine."
Or maybe he's cool. Yeah, Carrie's boss had one forever. Then finally he just like shaved it and it's like, just like figured it was time to grow up, he said, or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I think at this point they'll be back in about 2 years. So it's way too late to let go now.
Yeah.
I'm ready to bring it back at any time.
Someday I know I'll just slip, but if I try to grow in more beard, I'm like like a calico cat. I'm multicolored, like some of it's red and gray and brown, but it totally grows in white trash like Joe Dirt. It totally grows in like
I got that going right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like all that chemicals that you've had all over.
Probably, yeah. All the painting and
yeah.
I want to bring back I've got a picture of like a great grandfather, where they only shave the face and then they leave the whole bottom, like your neck grows out like a foot.
I'm not sure that's
I don't think that's I don't think no.
I think they all get in the way of my love life. That's really what it comes to. My wife gives me the, and I'm like, dang it.
See, we're the other way around. I have no say in whatever is going on here with my wife right now. She's like, "Oh, your hair doesn't look good with your hat. Tuck your hair back up in there." And I'm like, "Okay, but you're going on with your hair looking like that?" And she goes, "Yep."
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's the cheapest way to get a new wife. This is like her 15th hairstyle as we've been together, and color. You just let her be whatever she's doing.
Yep, it's free range.
Yeah, free range wife. Yeah. She's totally feral. That's really what we mean. Feral wife. Yeah. It makes it easier. Just don't question why we have how many trees in the house?
We have 14 trees.
14 Christmas trees in the house.
Really?
Yeah.
4 of them stay up year round.
Uh-huh.
So then technically it's only 11 that got put up.
She has a problem. And I grew up on a Christmas tree farm, so I'm a slight Scrooge. So
slight.
Oh my God.
We got sidetracked.
Yeah. Okay. So we're in college.
Yeah, right? you're in college now. North
God,
Tech
that really
college.
Went, that really
we
went.
get sidetracked a lot on this.
I got sidetracked quick.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're in college in North Texas.
When you debriefed me, like how we were starting, I was like, okay, are you sure we're not just going to go sidetrack wherever?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
impressed.
Yeah.
You're keeping us on track, which is good. Anyway, North Texas. So I met John Green. I played volleyball on their team. So I was super excited to go to a school where I could play. And I got hooked up with the setter who was building a motorcycle in his home garage and didn't have a car. So kind of got me back into mountain bikes, got me into bicycles again. And all of a sudden, like we were tinkering in the garage restoring
Wait,
old Hondas.
bicycles again? Were you into bicycles as a young kid? Did you do any
Oh yeah.
BMX or anything as a
Oh yeah.
kid?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so
I
I didn't
lived.
know that.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that either.
We talked BMX a lot.
I feel like we've talked about it before.
Yeah, I kind of
Me
forgot
and you
though.
have talked about it before.
What was your BMX bike? What brand did you
Oh,
ride?
oh, dude! Like I was that classic. Just like I was watching a deal with Strope the other day, and he was talking about. I was like, I was that classic kid. I got the Walmart $100 bike, chrome frame, and then I would save my lawn mowing money, buy the Skyway wheels. I've got my. Hold on, they're right here.
Yeah, I started with a Murray.
Oops, knock some stuff off.
Nice.
There it is, right
Yeah.
there, baby.
Yeah.
The California light pads.
Yeah, that's right.
Checkerboard pads. Have my checkerboard bands and my bear trap pedals. Got to have your
That's
dice.
why you can never be a leg model, right? Because your shins are all chewed up from the pedal. Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're like impervious to hurting. You know what I mean? Like there's no nerve left from as many times I probably hit them.
So did you just ride around town, or did you race or do any freestyle stuff?
Yeah, no, I don't think our town was so small. Like I don't know there was such a thing as. I'm sure there was BMX races going on somewhere, and I had no idea. Like we rode trails. I got into the freestyle thing for in about 8th grade. I built a half pipe in my backyard, and so buddies would come over. We'd ride the pipe for a couple hours or whatever, and then we'd take off for town, and we were off leash riding to the lake or wherever we decided to go. It was like probably I still feel it. Like I get on a motorcycle or a bicycle and I still feel that I'm off leash. Parents have let me leave the building, kind of vibe.
So when you were riding your half pipe, what kind of bike did you have then? Did you upgrade your frame to a GT or a Hutch or Haro or anything?
No, I don't know. I don't think I ever had that kind of money, or if I did, I was spending it somewhere else because like I remember rich kids having mongooses and red lines, and Hutch was probably like I still kind of lust after a Hutch, but I never had any of those. And I don't know. I guess at some point my bike looked so cool that I was just like, I don't think anybody ever questioned it at that point because it was so dialed and so badass that it was a few pounds heavier, but.
Yeah, I was back to see my dad a few weeks ago in Illinois. My sister was asking like, "What's your favorite Christmas present you ever got?" And I was like, "My Patterson BMX bike, my frame and fork that I got in 1983. I still own that bike." And I was like, "That was we didn't have money, so that was a big deal to get at that time a $150 frame for Christmas,
Yeah.
But I still own that. Yeah. BMX there's a lot of guys in our age group that rode BMX, like Strope was talking about on that one, and.
Absolutely.
Zane Cullen and Chip and Larry Dixon and
Jason Rushforth.
Yeah, Jason Rushforth and Troy Trepanier. They were all rode a little bit. So it's a lot of guys in our area that opened. That was our first outlet in creativity was the BMX and tricking our stuff out. And then a lot of us turned into race car guys or drag racers or hot bike guys. So, yeah.
And there was a code, like there was a code of ethics. Like, you couldn't have a kickstand. You couldn't have reflectors. You had to strip all the shit off. You had to have the pegs. You know what I mean? There was a code of standards, that you had to kind of live by. And you were, at the end of the day, everybody knew like if you couldn't keep your shit maintenance because we're all out riding together, you got a pack of 10 dudes that are out. And, if your chain was falling off all the time, your brakes didn't work, we're all like, hey man, like, come on, get your shit together. Like get in the garage and fix it, And so I think it taught you a lot of not only style, but it kind of gave you a crew, it gave you an image, it gave you friends, something to do. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Now we're jumping back again. So you got with that guy, you got back into bicycles a little bit, mountain bikes at college.
Yep.
And then he was building a bike. When did you have your first motorcycle? Did you have motorcycles as a kid too, or no?
So I grew up with dirt bikes, but when I lost my dad early, I just kind of decided I wasn't going to, put my mom through losing a child at the same time. So I waited actually till I was riding at Wyotech a little bit, just borrow a buddy's enduro and run out in the country. And same, you know, I would rent dirt bikes or go dirt biking when I was in LA for a minute. But I didn't get a street bike till when I moved to Atlanta and kind of started my shop. And that's when I didn't actually get my license until I did biker build off, which was kind of funny. I got biker build off and I'm like, shit, I don't even have a license.
Okay, so before we get there, you get done with college. What are you doing after college?
I got a sales job. I was driving that 50 Plymouth, which just, you know, like I had to wear not really a suit, but, you know, I had to dress up. I've got a chop top.
What were you selling?
It was chemicals. It was like bulk chemicals,
Okay.
train loads of chemicals. It didn't last long. Their training program was really non-existent. But anyway, it was just kind of like, I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, why do I have these dress clothes on? You look in the parking lot. I've got a chop top Plymouth with no, you know, seats aren't bolted down. Everybody else is in some normal car. And I'm like, man, I got to do something. And so I found Wyotech and called my mom, and she was like, we always thought you should do something with your hands, dear. So you pushed me into med school. So yeah, I went to Wyotech, and it was just
What
kind
year
of
did
like,
you, how old were you when you went to Wildtech?
I was the old guy. I was like 26,
Okay.
something like that.
I wanted to go to Wildtech. I couldn't afford to go to Wildtech. And back then they didn't really, did they have a hot rod program by that time? When I was like 19, they had auto body and diesel and all that, which some of my friends went to the diesel there. My body shop boss that I worked for, he went to the local program, so that's why I went there. But I knew some people that went out there, but I probably would have like sold everything I had if they would have had a hot rod program when I was 19, but they didn't.
Yeah, it was actually after it was after, because it was 96 when they started that program.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went in, I was already out of college, you know, when I went. Well, that was when I was there. So it was a few years before that. But yeah, it was cool. It was like 60 at that point. It was still kind of a small program. It was like 60 kids.
Mm-hmm.
They'd put 30 in chassis, 30 in body. And Gordon Cosett was the street rod instructor, one of the two of them. And he let me come in because I had night classes doing auto body. So I was doing night classes. So he would let me come in during the day when they were in lecture and practice TIG welding. He taught me to TIG kind of before I ever even, you know, got to street rod. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a big help.
We were both on the advisory board for quite a few years out there. She was on the upholstery side. I was on the hot rod side. And we get tours. We'd come and talk to them about their curriculum, talk to the kids. And I can't remember. Gordon was still there when I went there. He was still the head of chassis at that time, maybe.
Yep. Gordon was an incredible chassis teacher. I mean, he was super detailed, knew his shit.
Gary Pools was there. Gary was, I think, the longest lasting of all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I just saw one of my old paint. I went back for got inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. So I got to take my son back.
Awesome.
And saw some of my old teachers and instructors and paint, you know, guys I was in paint class with. It was an awesome experience.
Yeah, I realize I'm old too. Like when I went there, like Will Posey was a student there, I think, and a couple other like that generation of guys, like a little bit younger, because I was one of the younger on the advisory board, but then some guys that came were there, and I was like, well, that makes me feel old. But I met Rick Casper there. I met Matt Harris there. Matt ended up being in charge of street rod, went back to Pennsylvania, and I'm still close friends with those guys to this day. So
yeah, it's a cool place. You know, it was probably the first time that I found, I guess, a big group of young people who were also into kind of hot rodding. And it was a bit of a window, you know, into like how to learn craftsmanship in this world, you know, in that zone, and like how to TIG, how to build a chassis, how to do, you know, body fab, upholstery, paint. Like it kind of like opened all those doors quickly.
Mhm.
So you're like, oh, okay, that's how all this works, you know. And after going to college for like 6 years, you know, I came out and I was, you know, I
6
was a
years at Wildtech? Were you Van Wilder?
no, at regular
6 years
college.
total.
Oh, 6 years
Regular
total. Oh, okay.
No, no, the one that had girls. I went that school.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Wilder.
So did
yeah,
you take a
my wife
project
likes
to school?
my wife likes to give me shit. She'd be like, you took 6 years in college. And I'm like, yeah, I did biology, chemistry first. Second, I was having a really good time. Third, you know, you majored in English. I'm like, it's your first language.
How will that go over?
She's finally like, I think she's finally, after all these years, like, okay, maybe I should have just taken my time and enjoyed college more instead of just focusing on getting out in 3 years. But her dad bribed her, you know.
Did you take a project to college to work on while you were at Wildtech?
Oh yeah, the Maserati 19. That was a salvage Mazda pickup B2200. It was gray when I took it in there, and the first thing we did was fill the tailgate. This kid got out. He was the first one. He actually got out before me because my instructor took a big bumper to a door for me, and so I was like, all right, man, weld the handle up. We're going to move the handle to the back. And man, he shrunk that thing. I mean, it probably had a half an inch of kitty hair in that thing by the time it was all said and done. Credit cards.
Yep.
Did put center lines, 17-inch center lines with little like 205 50 15s on it. And that's what I took to LA. And man, I probably popped like 7 rims when I was there.
Yeah. So right after, when you graduated Wildtech, you went straight to California after Wildtech?
Dude, it was crazy. So that really is like one of my favorite stories. So I was in my home garage just like I am now, but back in Texas, and I had one poster on the wall, and it was Rod and Custom Copperhead, ZZ Top Copperhead.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
50 Ford, lengthened doors, wide block.
3 window.
That was PC3G Group, you know, Shaporis and Jake and some of those guys up at the house before they started SoCal Speed Shop. So I got hired on at PC3G, and 2 weeks later it became SoCal.
Yeah, that PC3G that name lasted just a short time, but that was their main car that came out at that time when that name was there.
Yeah.
And he kind of moved up in the hills or whatever, right? For that.
It was at his house. Pete Shaporis, it was at his house.
Okay.
So I got hired on, you know, I build my table. That's kind of like the first thing that you would do at SoCal is, you know, you'd build your own fab table. And so I look over, I go into work one day, hadn't been there very long. And right there is Copperhead. The one car that was in my home garage as a poster was next to my stall. And I'm just like, dude, what in the hell has just happened? You know what I mean? And literally, like, the last 30 years of my life have just been exactly like that. I mean, I'm just.
So who'd you work there at PC3G? I have trouble saying that. Who was there? Was Bob Bowder around then?
So it was incredible, man. It was Jake, Ron Carambia, John Carambia, and Tim Beard, the painters. And I was like a huge ZZ Top Eliminator fan. They painted that car, and I was just like, oh my God. And let's see, Bowder. I don't think Bowder was in and out, but I don't think he was working there when I was there. But he was in and out. Eastwood popped in and out, but he wasn't there at that point. So mainly it was Jimmy. Had started 6 months before me, and so me and him hung out a lot at the beginning. And I was back in the bot.
Realize Jimmy Shine worked there that early.
Yeah,
with Pete.
Okay. Yeah, he started.
Did you guys at that time? I don't know if that was before or after. There was this car in there It was a pullout in Hot Rod Magazine. It was like a 34, 35 Chevy three window, like Pro Street, no fenders, big motor. That same team did it around that same time, but I don't know if that was before
There was
or
the
after.
Willies. The
No, this
Willies?
was a
Oh,
blue three window Chevy coupe, like 34 5.
hmm.
Like I think it was like a Hot Rod Magazine top 10 of the year, and
Yeah.
like, I still got imagine that. I still
Hmm.
got the poster. Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I apprenticed with Birdman, Bill Stewart, who was just insanely talented sheet metal guy, and Roy Schmidt, who was kind of from Boyd Coddington fame, the old guy who was always there early. And the two of them were just an incredible guys to learn from because Bird was like super detailed. I mean, his first lesson was to take your brand new snips apart and dial them in, which I still couldn't do today if you asked me to. And
what do you
Roy,
got to do to tin snips to make them better? That's a learning experience.
what I do is I buy Bessies, which are the best. Every person I've ever showed the Bessie snips are just like, oh yeah, these are the best.
Okay.
But anywho, so Roy Schmidt was like MIG weld, gas weld, barely ever pulled a helmet out. I mean, he would weld blind most of the time, just close his eyes and like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But a badass. I mean, the dude he did Shazoom. He did, I think he worked on Boyd Air. He was awesome. But anyway, just the two differences, like one super tight and the other really fast and loose, was like really great training to kind of put the two together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. How then when PC3G changed to that was then he bought the SoCal name, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then
So I
moved
was
back.
there only a couple of weeks and they're like, all right, you have a new shirt. And I was like, sweet, SoCal Speed Shop. That's a lot better. I was like,
Yeah.
you can't even say it. So yeah. So yeah, as Exidius came around, he was always just such a nice, like nice, friendly, older gentleman. Um, you
What
know,
year was this?
let's see, that would have been, I think am I getting my years right? Is that 97? Is
Okay.
that right?
Sounds right. Yeah. I was
Yeah,
thinking late 90s.
97. And so, um, Bruce Meyer was walking around, but I didn't talk to him much. But I got to meet a lot of the, kind of Southern California. The Kennedy brothers were a block
Mhm.
down the street. They're like old school hot rod, flathead,
So as soon as
building
he became
guys.
SoCal, then he moved back into the city. Is that
Who's that?
when you were working for them and when he was PC3G, then he bought the SoCal, then he moved locations again, right?
No, they were there for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were at the
Still at
same
Pete's
location at
house.
that point.
Okay.
They were already down in Pomona whenever, they
Oh,
changed.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. That was my question. I didn't think I
They
said it right.
expanded it. They bought like they had the two buildings when I was there. I think they bought a third. So it was expanding over that period. They always had the Roadster show Friday. I think it was a Friday party that they always, the open house they used to have was awesome. Maybe they still do.
How long did you work there for SoCal?
I was there 2 years. I think it was 2 or 3 years.
What was
Um,
a couple of projects you guys put out when you were there that we might
one of my the first one I did was a 40 Ford that had a 57 Ford like dash in it, which was super cool. And then I worked on that crazy. Do you remember the Xeno futuristic car that came out of there? It's in the Peterson. It's like gold, flat panels everywhere. It's up in the design area in the Peterson Museum quite a bit. So Nick Pugh was a young designer. He's the same age as us. At that point, he was like 25 years old, and he's funding his own personal concept car.
Oh wow.
And so he's just this crazy talented. He was an artist that worked for movies. So he would do concept art for like a $300 million film and a lot of futuristic kind of Sid Mead type stuff. So he came in and they're like, "Hey, Fuller, you're new at this. This is something we've never done. No one's ever done this. It's all kind of flat panels, aluminum, stainless. So we're going to put you with him." And Nick and I totally hit it off. And so I got a lot of good design training from him of cardboarding and, thought process and, just different techniques in design, and, getting to work hand in hand with him was extremely valuable for me, during that period.
Cool. So then, after SoCal, what did you go after that? You said you were there a couple of years. What did you move on to then?
I went to Hot Rods and Hobbies for a minute, and
Okay.
Scott Banowski. That was the only job I ever got fired from.
How long were you with Scott?
I don't know, maybe a year.
Because that's another tie-in to the Pennywise. He had a car that Scott helped bodywork and paint that ended up being like in Popular Hot Rodding or something
Okay.
from Pennywise. And Fletcher's a monster. He's like, I painted the roof, and Scott's almost a little person, and he painted the sides.
Yeah. I wonder if that's how I met him. I remember the first time that we took the thing around the block. I was like really hungover. We got in the car, and he's like 300 pounds at least. I mean, he's a big dude.
Yeah,
and he was like, "You know what you need, man? You need In-N-Out. I'm telling you, like that's going to save you." And I'm like, "Really? A burger and fries?" Like, "No, I'm telling you, man, that is the hangover cure. Look, look at me. I'm a rock and roller, man. Like, I know this." So
yeah, he's not just a rock and roller. He's Fletcher. So there's a lot of crazy party stories with that surround Fletcher.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that one.
Yeah.
So was at Scott's for a minute, got fired, went on vacation, went to Thailand. I was going on vacation, and he fired me right before I went on vacation, which was awesome. And
why did you get fired?
You'd have to ask Scott.
We will, because we're going to get Scott on the podcast. So yeah, we'll ask Scott. So.
I'm sure he'll have his own version, but anyway, so I was without job, and I came back to LA. Of course, it made me nervous, like my whole trip, but I came back and I went down south. I talked to Chip, and I talked to Fink and Jeff Midford Taylor, who had done a lot of Fink's metalwork over the years, ended up hiring me. And I had like 3 offers by noon, and I was like, all right, I'm going to be all right. So there were so many hot rod shops and motorcycle shops down in Southern California during that period. I mean, if you could TIG and you did your work, you could get a job somewhere. So Jeff was an incredible sheet metal teacher and really very meticulous, totally knew his shit. And I learned a ton from him over that couple of years.
Yeah, these people that you've talked about working for are like a lot of the Hall of Famers, the who's who of the industry. So even if you weren't trying to learn, you had to soak in stuff just by being around all these amazing craftsmen. I mean, a ridiculous amount of people.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird, and, it gives me chills, but it's just given me a lot of confidence to know that whatever path that I've been put down, it's the path I'm supposed to be on. And I just keep following it, and whatever my gut tells me to do, if my gut tells me I need to come out in the garage and, tear my little personal motorcycle apart, or, build a guitar that I'm working on. Right. Nice. If my gut tells me that I need to go to Wyotech or go to California or whatever, at this point, I just surrendered to whatever that path is. And I've just been so blessed, and I've worked my ass off, as well. But man, what a blessed run I've had.
Well, the skill that you have, the personality and the workmanship that you put out obviously helps, because the word would have got out if you weren't worth a shit, and nobody would have offered you a job. So how long were you at that guy's shop? And what What do you remember making there, shaping stuff when you were working?
We were doing primarily, we didn't do any full cars. That was only metalwork. So, 32 sedan, 36 Ford. So very traditional, just bare metal car, get it ready for paint. We weren't doing no chassis work, nothing other than just prepping the car for somebody else. And consequently, that's all I did for 2 years was sheet metal. And really, I mainly did sheet metal or paint for 10 years. I mean, that was about all that I did. When I started begging Chip after about a year to, take me in over there because he got the Grandmaster he was working on. At that point, he was really starting to kind of ramp up his team and was starting to get serious. And so, every 3 months, I'd go to the sandwich shop, and people ask me all the time, like, how'd you get hired by Foos? And I'm like, I'd go to the sandwich shop for lunch every day, go in, talk to the crew, see how the Grandmaster was going, and then, can you hire me? I'm just going to be next door until you hire me.
So then he finally caved and hired you?
Yep. I think he saw me ride in my chopper bicycle one too many times and finally just, actually he just needed the word. Chip was just so nice. Like he never wanted to, take anybody from another shop. But, at the same time, you're like, look, I have to have money to eat. And if I go work for somebody else and you take me from there, you're still taking me from a different shop. I have to be somewhere to make money to eat, so you're going to take me from somewhere. Like when we had impression in there and it was time to paint. And I told him, I'm like, dude, we need to get Charlie from Boyd's. I was like, Charlie Hutton is the guy. That's who we need to paint this car. And he's like, I know, but he's at Boyd's. And I was like, so what? Who cares? And I'm like, I'll call him. And he's like, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. So I called Charlie, just browbeat him until he finally, relented and came over. And I think he was very happy that he made the switch.
So were you there? You were there towards the end of Grandmaster though, right?
I watched Grandmaster all year, and then I started right after.
Okay. So the Impression was the first big car. And Chip, I mean, it's not that Chip's built non-zingers, but man, he had a string of heavy hitter cars there in that era. And, rightfully so, it takes the right customer to do those cars. And Ken Reister and a bunch of those guys really stepped up, let you guys all create.
Yeah, I mean, it takes those guys. I mean, those customers really make it where we can do what we do. I mean, they're incredible people. But I worked on Stallion, which was a 34 coupe. It's kind of like that red with a real hot gold pearl inside of it.
So that was the Riddler also, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I remember you were on an episode before overhauling. You were on the episode of Rides from his place, right? Or one or two. He was on a few episodes, but I still remember how detailed you started talking about surface, and you were I don't know why I have this in my head. I remember a lot of stupid shit that is not useless for anything except this. That you were talking about prepping the surface, and I remember you were holding a sanding block, and you were talking about the gaps to the frame to the bottom of the floor pan are the same as. It's like that's what Rides was so cool because that was like, there was some car shows before and after, but Rides and Biker Build Off, which I really liked, they really got some of that information out that people never really got to see on television before. You can't put all that information out by just reading a magazine, but I just remember that specific scene with you in it just hit with me. So
yeah, those two shows really did such a great job. They really highlighted what this stuff is, which is, it's an American art form. I mean, it started here, it developed here. We have more of it than anywhere in the world. And so, it should be something that as a culture we're proud of. And obviously those of us in the community are very proud of it. But, I think the public now knows before all that stuff hit, the public, as far as like, a lot of people concerned, like I worked at Jiffy Lube, Like that's what they knew about car building. That you worked at a body shop, and I'm like, no, it's more like art. Like we're actually creating cars. Like, well, what do you mean you're creating cars? We tear the whole damn thing apart, cut everything to shreds, and make it something else. And they're like, whoa, what? Like what? And then you show them, a picture, and they're like, holy crap! I didn't even know that was a thing. Like it's kind of a big thing actually, but.
Yeah, on the downside, then it brought some people that watch those shows, and then they'll go to a small show, and they're like, well, look at the problem with that car. It's like you can't just enjoy the car for the car. Not every car is the budget of a Foose car. There's your $20,000 car is not going to look like your $2 million car.
Well, it's just, it's painful amount of hours too. It's not, winning, people everybody wants to win the Super Bowl. And I'm like, you see what, somebody who goes through what it takes to be a champion, and it's really fucking hard work, and it's dedication, and it's skipping,
and insanity. Yeah.
And some insanity, you know what I mean? But you're just, when you're driven by some goals to do some things, then there's going to be consequences, and in order to do that kind of work.
Yeah, it always reminds me every time, if I don't go to the main tire shop that's over an hour away, that understands that when you take a set of wheels to a tire shop and you have a piece of tape and it's like, I want the first letter of the tire to line up at this spot on the rim. look at you like you need to be locked up, and it's like, what do you mean you don't you don't clock your tires to a certain spoke on your wheel? It's like, I thought everybody did that. And they're like, no, you're the only person that asked for that. But that's what we do, right? Yeah.
I can't say that I've done that one, like, damn, that's pretty anal. Yeah.
You must have not had the tires mounted, but all those Riddler cars had no letters still on the tires. That's why they were shaved the sidewalls. So
yeah, I love those. I love the Diamondback Classics guys, like they'll just take those off for you, or they'll put a red line or a white wall on for you.
Yeah. So what other stuff did you work on when you're
you really like, let's see, that was really, I did pretty much worked on those two cars. We did the Speedster, the little Thunderbird Speedster, the chip, did a typical chip deal. Like, we've got 2 months. Let's cut the top off and make a full custom while we're still trying to finish the other car and do TV shows. So we worked on that one a bit. And mainly I did my last 2 years that I was there. We did impression and overhauling. That was really about all I did for that whole period.
Mm-hmm. So when did overhauling start? I don't remember. When did you start being on overhauling?
I was on the pilot. I think that was 2003, right about 2003.
Been over 20 years ago. That's ridiculous to think about that now, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started my shop in Atlanta after Impression, which we just celebrated 20 years. So it was.
You were on overhauling. You were full time, or were you back and forth overhauling and back in Atlanta?
No, I was still. I did the first, like, I think 4 or 5 episodes, and then sporadically, I think I did about 8 over that period. But I had to go back to the shop to work on Impression, which I was kind of like sad about, because I was really enjoying the TV process. I really got into it. But that car needed to be built. It needed to get out. And we only had a team of like 7 people, other than the outside folks like paint and upholstery we would bring in on occasion. But, so, as a business owner, I understand it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back then I was like, damn, man, I don't get to go back. And then they would call me when something was like a complete rust bucket. Like if it was really bad, all right, man, can you get over here? I'm like, oh shit, it must be bad. And I walk in, I'm like, oh God, it's Swiss cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's people that haven't done that TV thing isn't for everybody either. One being working on a deadline with a camera over your shoulder, which I did that for 2 years on my. It was basically a spin-off overhaul, and I did search and restore. But we did 4 weeks to build a car. Week one, and we broke it, and that was an episode of metal, and then the next was body and paint, and then so I got to get 10 to 12 of my industry friends to come in. They're fresh. I'm exhausted, but we came in, and during that time when I was doing my show, Chip, that's when he came back and did some more overhauling, and they stretched it out just a little bit. He came in because he filmed a WD-40 commercial at the studio here in Tennessee that they just hired RTM and brought Chip in, and he's like, "Oh, so you guys are doing this over 4 weeks? That seems a lot better." And I was like, "Really? That's really simple math to figure out 4 weeks is better than 1 week or whatever they were doing." And he's like, "That seems way more relaxing." I was like, "Well, it's not still not relaxing when you're full chassis and doing all that stuff, but yeah, I think I'm too old to do that. They do that now because I mean that's been 14 years ago since I did mine." So
I know. I love when people are like, "Oh, you must be there all night." I'm like, hell no, I'm not there all night. Like, I did that shit for 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, no, I get in early a lot of the time, and I'm typically out there at a normal hour. At some point you'll burn out. Like, you can't do it 20 hours a day for, 50 years. It's just not possible for most people.
that being said, I don't do that often, but after we record this podcast, I'm going back to the shop for probably an hour and a half because I'm trying to get a car ready for paint. So yeah, I got.
Yeah, I mean, when you have to,
yeah,
you do what you got to do.
Yeah. Okay, so you're done in California. What made you decide on Atlanta?
So I met my wife, Paige. We were dating at the time and trying to find somewhere to live. Couldn't, in LA by the beach. It was so expensive even back then. So her brother-in-law was like, "Hey, what if you build a bike for me? I've got a little place in a blacksmith shop, little 600 square feet that you can have for free. He's got a bandsaw and sanders and, gives me a chance to start out on my own." So I had a motorcycle for him, which was, I think I made, 10 grand in profit over 6 months, and while starting a shop and moving across country. And I had a bicycle for felt, which I had built a couple of previous show bikes for
I
felt.
forgot about that. Yeah.
So that was so I had one that I did for them. And then, just kind of got started and got my first car project after, I guess it was about 8 months, probably 8 months in. And I got my first car project for a local DJ. The Kimmer. "Hey, Bryan, it's the Kimmer. Where's my car?"
What was this car? What was it? What'd you build for him?
Oh my God. It was a 56 Sunliner Ford convertible. We did back then, which was the new big engine, was the 50. What was that? 50. What was that big Ford back then they had? Anyway, the big black Ford. It was a crate motor for them back then.
Oh yeah, it was like 550 something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. God, it's been forever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got ways through, and didn't end up finishing the car for him. And of all people that picked it up, which was super embarrassing. So Kimmer, I got as far along as I could with Kimmer, but it just didn't work out to finish the car. And the guy that picked it up was Sam Mamolo of Two Guys Garage and Shade Tree Mechanic. That's who came to pick up the car. My very first customer project. I'm like, oh my God, this career is going south so quick. So anyway, it ended up getting finished, and randomly I had a guy email me and he goes, "Hey, Bryan, I've got your Kimmer car." And I'm like, "What?" And so I went out for lunch, and the dude was so cool. He had 20 motorcycles, bunch of hot rods. And I got to race him in a car that I built that I didn't even know I'd never seen a picture of it finished. And I got to race him in it to lunch. It was so much fun. And so me and him and his son are all still friends today. It's cool.
Awesome. So when did you build a chopper, and Wildtech helped you like promote it. They took it to
Yeah,
events and like, hey, this is what one of our graduates. When did you build that bike?
that was actually for VC Tech, which was in Birmingham.
Oh, yep.
So
Okay. Yeah, because then
Wildtech was having
I
trouble
was on
back
the
then.
advisory board there because Doug LaRue
Hmm.
went down there and started the VC Tech program. And I
Yep,
was on the 2 years, I think I did the advisory down there. And like that's when I met Stacy David. They brought Stacy David down there. Alan Johnson was on it. I want to say maybe Jesse Greening was on the advisory board there too. Yeah.
probably. I mean, he's right down there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we a lot of the Wildtech guys went down to VC Tech and we did this bike, and that's where I met Prosser, who we ended up doing a couple of books together. But we bought that bike back, and I've started to change it because it had like a really big wide rear tire.
Mhm.
Because I bought a kit, I bought like a frame kit, and at that point I just wasn't ready to, build a bike from scratch because I hadn't been around them long enough.
Mhm.
So I changed the tail. I've got a more normal, like 160 rear tire on it now. We've kind of gone and did some spot repair. The fenders and tank and stuff are ready. So I'm trying to get to it. It's one of those projects. It's sitting there on the shelf that I need to get finished.
Yeah. So then, what starts coming in? Some of your cars that you're doing. I remember a few, but I have. If you don't mention it, I'm going to ask about. But what you're in Atlanta? When did you move into a bigger location? When you did that first car that for the radio
Um,
guy, or were you still in
we
that smaller spot?
we were still in that small shop, and then we got the Impaler in, which was one of our best,
Hmm.
and that was a 60 Bel Air, but I kind of like use the Impala name to call it Impaler. But we went through and just sheet metaled everything on that car, like the A pillars, door panels, package tray, like everything was left in raw metal, and we used a metal spray technique throughout a lot of it, which was a big pain in the ass because you'd have to blast it. Then you had like this metal spray gun, and then you have to sand it again because we were doing like a half brush, half kind of cast look with this aluminum. And that car was in the ARP booth and really blew up. We got a design award with it. And that was a big,
What was the headline? It had a cool headliner you did.
yeah, it had basically it was just a roll cage on either side. And then we had 10X fasteners like European cars have to hold kind of like their convertible tops on. So it was almost just floating, you know,
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of floating in there.
I just
That customer
when I
actually
seen that, I
donated.
was like, look at that headline because when it's sitting in a booth, you kind of walk by it and they're like, no, go back and look at the headliner in that. I sent probably 20 people that year to go look at the headliner and that. I was like, well, that's cool as shit.
That's
Yeah, it
funny.
was like
That's cool,
I
man.
like stuff that pops out. It's like, oh, I've never seen this before. So a lot of
Yeah,
your stuff you do that. You come up with something that's a little creative and different, and
yeah,
that car was
yeah.
really
That car was amazing. Yeah, it's funny how I was always like a hot rod guy, and I didn't even know what that car was. Like I knew what the bubble top was, but
hmm
I hadn't even when he told me, 60 Bel Air, I was like, is that the bubble top? Like, no, not the bubble top. And now I love that car. When I see that car around somewhere, I'm like, God, I love the post. Like they've got the
yeah,
little wing that comes off the back window with the big
yeah,
wraparound rear window.
yeah.
And the Ford, I always really liked the Ford version of that too. The 60, kind of 64. They were really flat and wide,
hmm
similar body style.
And then after that, you did the biggest car that probably your shoulders still hate you after that, right? You did that the big old limousine.
Undertaker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Thundertaker. Oh my God. That thing, 22-foot long, 60 cat hearse. And
And that was that for a customer.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
what goes through your mind when he comes to the guy that wants to do that car? Obviously, you're in a bigger shop by now because it wouldn't have fit in your 600 square foot shop, right?
You couldn't like no, we added the building like the little room next door. I mean, it was like another
Huh.
15. We built that thing in like a 1,500 square foot shop, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, we added the little room next door, but you couldn't drive it in and out. Like you had to jack the rear end in order to get the thing into the building.
Yeah.
But
How many people are you working with at this point?
um, I think I probably had probably 4 or 5. I'd say I had 4 or 5 guys working for me at that point.
That's a lot in that much space.
We were like 4,500 square feet. Um, but yeah, it was cool, man. Like it was a really fun time. I mean, it was some golden years for us, you know. That car was so hard. I mean, it was fine for like, the first 3 years, but that last year, oh God, it just, man, it was so hard. I mean, it came down to the wire, and the paint was, we were supposed to take it to SEMA. We had a month. We got it back, I think, with a month left from paint. And it was just so brutal getting all that done. But I got to the cool thing about it, there's a dude in Houston that owns it now. He has 4 daughters. They go to ice cream in it. They do weddings with it. He actually uses the thing. So we got to go through recently and do some updates to the wiring system, which just had some issues back in the day. So we got all those fixed up, and man, it's just running great now.
Awesome.
Very cool. So when did you move? I've not been to your new shop. Your other shop that you were been, did you move that, or was that location that you just kept growing at that time? Because I don't know how long you've been in your new place, but I was at your old shop once when I was down doing some stuff with Industrial Depot down
Yep.
there.
Yeah, we moved to Tucker, which is just kind of outside the loop, close to Stone Mountain, in Atlanta area, about 7, 8 years ago. And I got lucky to find the old Ferrari Alpha Fiat. So it's kind of this random cul-de-sac with a bunch of car guys down there that, no one hardly knows where it is because it's at the end of a concrete street, which is so
That's the one I
weird.
was at. That's the shop you're talking about that I was at that time, right? Or is this your?
I don't think so. I don't think you came to the new one. I could be
No,
wrong,
the
but
new one I haven't. You were at the
yeah,
other one before. That was
this
the
is
one that you just kept growing into, the
yeah,
brick building? Okay.
yep,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I knew it had
So
been time. So yeah, I've not been to the new place.
yeah, so 8 years ago we moved. 7, 8 years ago, I forgot now, but we moved in the new one, but it's kind of legendary locally because it is like, there were Testarossas that were sold out of that place. Helicopters landed in the cul-de-sac buying
Oh,
Ferraris, and so it was Ferrari of Atlanta for a long time, like shockingly long. I think up until '96, I think they finally moved out to the ritzy side of town.
how big is your shop now?
That building's 15,000, and we kind of went through and did what I call like a resto mod. So, we've updated it where it's got red beams, and we've kind of added a lot of glass. We've added a lot of beams. So the idea is like when people come in, they're like, oh yeah, I could totally see this, being a Ferrari location.
Mhm.
But if you came in there before, you would never believe that was a Ferrari shop. It was like almost like a morgue. It was white. I mean, like everything white, and it was different in the Ferrari days. But
I
if
want to come next time I'm in Atlanta. I go down there every once in a while, but I don't want to because I've drooled over the pages when, like, you were fresh and Wheel Hub did a feature on your car and the shop, and like is it your lunchroom or something that's like glass and
yeah,
yeah, it's like, oh man, I see a spot in my shop that I could do that, but I was like, I don't need to spend that kind of money. So yeah.
well, we did a lot of it on the cheap. Like you can get everything's up, of course, which is you know irritating as shit. But when we moved in there, I mean, we have a Steel Mart right up the street, and we could get a 50-foot long 4x8 I-beam. I think it's probably, they call it a different type of wall thickness, which is really like hard for me to comprehend because they're doing it by weight or something. And
Mhm.
oh, that's 10 pounds per foot. I'm like, no, it's 1/8 inch thick. You're like, nah,
Yeah.
nope. So I would say it's 1/8 inch or 3/16, probably 1/8 inch, 4x8. I was getting those at 50-foot lengths for like $350.
Oh wow. Yeah. When we did
So
our house in Illinois, we built a big addition out front, sunken living room, and upstairs. We never finished it before we moved to Tennessee. But instead of wood beams, we did that same thing, I beams, and stainless bolts and stainless or round tubing steps and everything. And I remember that's like that was so much per foot. They were talking about the poundage of what, and then
Yeah.
the bow and everything in it. And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, they totally think about that different than automotive fabricator type people do.
Yeah. It makes it hard to order because you're like, look, man, like you can't tell if that's 1/4 inch wall thickness, and they're like, nah, it's just not, that's not how we talk about it. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so weird to me that they would want to use their nomenclature in that way. But
Yeah.
anyway.
So how many guys you got in the shop now?
We were up to like 20 at one point, and it just became a logistical nightmare. And so a few years ago, not too long ago, I had just kind of a soul searching, moment. I happened to have a vacation I had a trip where I went to Roadster Shop and I went to Troy's, and I had been to Kindig's place, and, I had, some dreams of getting bigger and continuing to grow. And when I went to Troy's, I mean, he's like, he's got like about 6 guys. He works for like 3 customers. He does half race, half hot rods. And, Chip was kind of
figured out, but he's got
he's
really,
got
really
it
good
figured
parts.
out. Yeah. And that's really like where I'm going. I'm kind of working my way towards trying to keep us to, 2 or 3 cars at a time, at, less than, 6 people or so that we're just able to really deliver faster, to just make our customers happier, to be more efficient, and to keep a better handle on quality, and just to really feel like we're doing a better job. Honestly, less drama.
I've been to a lot of shops too. I've never been to Roadster Shop yet or Kindig because you ran out of gas when we were trying to get to Kindig's before we go to the airport when we left Bonneville. Yeah, that's a good story for Carrie. And but some of them they're too big. It almost, no offense to them, but it almost loses the personality of when you walk into some shops. It's like there's a soul in that building of the craftsmanship and the cars that they're creating. And not that any of those guys, but I've been to other shops that aren't big name shops that have a lot of guys and they're just pumping out. I even hate the term. The resto mods is like, okay, we're LS swapping this, we're chassis swapping, and they all kind of look the same. But I know they're making more money than me, but maybe they got it figured out. But there's certain shops you go to when they're a little bit smaller, they like Rad Rides is the perfect thing. He doesn't have 20 employees. You would think that they have 20 employees, but everything has a soul to it when they create their rolling pieces of art. I mean, Rad Rides, I mean, you can't argue with what they put out.
Yeah. I think you can just only like, somebody like, like Troy, Chip, in the motorcycle world, like a Max Hazen, like, you take these guys who are ultra creative, super talented, and, most of us aren't like the greatest businessman to start. So it's like, if I'm going to grow to 30 people, like I need somebody to basically just take over most of the business because I can't handle that and keep, really creating all the little spots that I need to make my vehicles to be special, and so to keep a handle on that, like you kind of have to make a choice. Like, are we a factory where, and again, like some people can pull it off, but you need such a big team. Like you got to get over this really monstrous hump of scale so that you've basically hired, a project manager, and you've got accountants, and you've got teams that are, like can take the load off of you so you can do your work. And, guys like Kindig have got that figured out. But, usually they have somebody like his wife's doing a lot, I think, of the business management, and so you've got other people to help. And man, that hump is just very, very hard to get over. And I just really want to build cool shit. I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to build cool shit. That's really all I care about.
That's the goal. We want to build cool stuff for cool people that understand it. Like they always say, what would you do if you won the lotto? And I was like, well, I'd still build cars. I just wouldn't build them for customers. I'd just be building what I want to build. and
Yeah.
probably travel a lot more. But I'd still be building stuff and creating because I
Yeah.
get twitchy when I'm not doing something in the shop. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know what
yeah,
you're talking about. What do you
yeah.
mean?
So you're in this shop. One, before we get to another car that I want to talk about, your sedan with the wild pipes. Are you ever going to finish that car? And how long has that thing been under construction so far?
Uh, so I do, yes, this year supposedly we are going to get back on it and get the damn thing done. Um, Public Enemy. I found some bomber seats today that hopefully will work, but yeah, I've been learning a lot of upholstery. The good news of that is that, that car is mainly done other than upholstery. So I've
Is it
probably
painted
done.
or is it stained bare metal?
We, at this point, the idea is to kind of go with a bronze, kind of a bronze metal type coating.
Okay.
And we're going to do like, we've already done the sliding top is pretty much done. And it's done in a leftover military canvas. So we're going to finish it in like kind of a bronze with almost a World War II. The kind of inspiration is like a Huey helicopter from Vietnam. They had the kind of quilted patterning that was going on in those helicopters with little patches of leather where you needed to have wear items and grommets. And so we're going to kind of mix that wood, bronze, and green kind of patinaed canvas together is the plan. And then the frame, the engine, a lot of the stuff are going to stay kind of real dark and menacing, you know? So it's going to be like a real, it's not going to be polished, frilly. It's going to be
Mhm.
fucking nasty, manly.
What's the motor in that thing? I forget.
We swear originally it was Coyote, but I've really got soured on the Coyotes. They're so big. They're fine if in a Mustang, they're fine in a car. You don't really see it a lot, but it's not a good looking engine. It takes a
Mhm.
lot of work to make it look good. It doesn't sound that great. So at that point, I'm like, these cars are all about looking great and sounding great. Like, why am I using this big hunk of iron? I'd rather have a Boss or a 427 side oiler, or this thing's got a blueprint. One of their 550 horse 427 packages. We got a Hillborn, I'm sorry, Inglace stacks on it.
Cool.
So it's going to be pretty sick.
You didn't answer my question on how long that's been under construction.
I mean, obviously, after blipping 15 years, I don't know, but
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping soon.
Yeah.
I hate to say things where I'm not truthful, and I
I've
like to
got one of
think
them in my
I
back
like
corner. How long has that thing been started? Seven?
It's been a
I got
long
a
time.
7 year in the back
Yeah.
corner, but it still needs a lot. Like, we always have something we create, and it's like, oh, the perfect world is to find a customer that's going to pay me to work on my dream car. Well,
yeah,
I've got a car that's so far out there that most of my customers that have multiple cars done, they're like, you're out of your mind. But
yeah.
I'm still going to do it because I am out of my mind. It's the itch that I've been in my brain forever. And I've been thinking about that car for probably
Um,
20 years. I've had the
Mhm.
first pencil done on that car. So it'll be out someday if I live long enough, I guess. So
I think it's just more, like, yeah, I need to get the damn thing done. Luckily, this guy's patient. He's like, look, I just want, I just want you to do your best work. This is a car I'm not in a hurry on. Let's just, make sure we're doing it all the way. And really, that's what I'm after. It's usually a red flag for me when somebody's like, look, I got to have it next week, and I'm like, I know you
my
have
red
four other
flag is
toys.
if somebody's talking about a car, my big red flag is what's this worth when it's done, or what's it going to sell for at the auction? I'm pretty much done talking to you because I want to build a dream car and a dream relationship for somebody. I don't want to just build a flipper car for them. I don't want to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So there's also that, well, it's been in this shop, this shop, this shop, and this shop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been in the.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not the shop's fault. Sometimes it allegedly might be the customer's fault. Is why
Yeah.
they can't get along with anybody. I've seen that in the. Yeah, we've all seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, before we get to a car, like of all the stuff that you've done, I think it's very like the most exciting that you've ever been shown me a project and looking through your phone. I think it was at the Roadster Shop party last year, the year before. Like you just like to do something crazy. You were building that bicycle.
Oh yeah. Yep. I did
And
a 36
you were
inch.
all wound up about that thing.
Yep. Yeah. It's a 36-inch e-bike. So it's got a Fox like front downhill shock. We had to cut the brace out, of course, to get the big ass wheels in. The wheels are from a unicycle. And then it's got a 9-speed rear hub, hardtail with a little bit of a sprung seat, for the old tushy. And it's got a CYC motor setup, which is mid-drive, which means it comes through the pedals. So there's a motor attached to the pedals. 65 volt, 5,000 watt. So it's a lot of oomph, and disc brakes. So the idea is that you can I can ride to downtown Atlanta. We have bike paths like all over the place here. So I could ride to downtown Atlanta and, see like a set of stairs, and I could run up the stairs with e-power. So you're like, oh, I think I'll go up there.
Very cool.
So it's kind of like a big boy city killer.
No, need to post some more pictures of that because I don't know if I paid attention that it was all done. I don't know if I missed that. So
Yeah, it's kind of like I wish it was just fluid, and that you would just start one and then finish it, and you only worked on one. I don't know. It sounds good, and it would make more sense. But I think at the end of the day, when you're an artist, and I think that's probably what's really, been one of the bigger change over the last, I would say 30 years of my career was that, I grew up always doing something with art. Like when I was in like 5th grade, and I modeled my downtown for in cardboard, like construction paper for some kind of school project, So it was probably like 3 feet squared, right? Well, I brought it home. I was so excited about it, and I was having so much fun doing it that I kept expanding the town until I ran out of bedroom. So I had to walk away to get my clothes and get to bed. And you would have think my parents at that point would have been like, he just made a whole room of construction paper. I'm thinking we should send him into chiropractic school. It just seemed like really odd. But after working with Chip and Nick and, just so many talented, trained artists over the years, it's just been really cool to kind of realize like, hey, I really was born with some, just that drive, and there's always something down the road. I'm learning to sew. I'm learning to do upholstery now. I've probably done 300 hours of upholstery in the last 2 months. And that's kind of been
Karen
my
says
latest.
you can keep that. She did upholstery for 15 years at the shop. Yeah.
My body says no more.
Yeah. It's not as easy like stretching the seats, the hands and the carpal tunnel and all that. It's not an easy job either. I mean, then now look at all the 3D printing and everything all these shops are doing. It's ridiculous, the craftsmanship that's evolved in the hot rod world. So speaking of that, let's talk about, I forget what it's called, the big Art Deco car that you guys did that metal thrash the beginning of the year. We worked with our friend Tom at I almost said it's Saltworks. I've known Tom so long. I've known his other shop name before that when he was in Indy. Let's talk about that car. So you started with a sketch.
So back with the Thundertaker, the hearse car, I got the idea from Jay Leno, and when he had GM design him a car. And I got to know some of the guys at Hot Wheels, and I was like, here's what we could do. So I pitched Hot Wheels, and like, if you could be the design studio for the first time Mattel had been the design studio for an outside individual. And they're like, all right, why not? So I got my Thundertaker customer. He wanted a Dick Tracy car. And so we worked together. We had a 3D model of it. I mean, back when 3D printers were like brand new. And this is 12, 13 years ago. And the customer, moved on, got a divorce, did some other stuff, sold his collection or whatever. So, and I accidentally dropped the model.
Oh,
and it just shattered, you know. And I was like,
oh.
okay, well, guess that one's on the shelf for a while.
But didn't you have that the 3D print? Didn't you have it? Was it at SEMA or the Roadster Show? You had it someplace, didn't you?
Yeah.
Publicly?
Well, so I went back to Mattel. I got the data because now we have printers. Like back then, we didn't have printers. So now we have our own printers. So we printed the model ourselves, body worked it, painted it, took it to Amelia when we were on display at Amelia. And I had a customer close. I've had multiple people close, but so at that point, I was like, all right, we're going to make this damn thing a car. It looks too good. Why not? You know, we can 3D print the bumpers and then,
So it is real. It's a Hot Wheels car already, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, it's a
Okay.
real Hot Wheels car.
Yeah, I have a few of them.
So at that point, I'm like, well, the TV thing, Carfix got canceled. And I talked Lincoln into kind of taking what would have been next year's TV budget. I was like, hey, let's do this build where we take this new shaping technology. I'll build a buck. I got lucky again, like 2 days later after I said we're going to build the car, and I had a tech student who came in and asked me if there's anything he could do to intern. And I was like, hell yeah, there is. Nigel, he did an awesome job on it. So I was like, let's just get a bunch of guys together, which is what I've wanted to do instead of like having a workshop where we teach somebody to make a bowl. I was like, I want to work with my peers. You know, like overhauling, we're always so thrashed. We can barely have time to go to dinner after. You know, we're at shows, we meet each other, we talk about stuff, but rarely do we ever get to build something together. And so I came up with this concept. I raised some money. I paid for everybody's flights. No one got paid to be there, but you know, we had enough money to cover food, beer, and hotels for a week. And we thrashed, not like we thrashed hard, but short days, like 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And
So
we took lunch.
talk about the technology, what we're talking about, because Tom will not do our podcast. I've known Tom since before he had his own shop. He's like, I just don't want to do it. So it's like, I still want Tom on there. He'll probably listen to this. Tom, I want you on, but it's the metal shaping stuff that a couple
That's
other
funny.
shops have them. A couple of them are getting them. But he's like the first one in the hot rod industry. He's not just doing hot rod stuff. He's doing airplane stuff and everything. But you do a scan of the stuff, and then this machine like forms it. It pushes it,
Yep.
rolls it around, and does everything. You had
Yep.
all these panels done from
Yep.
from Saltworks technology.
Yep. So
Not there, they didn't invent it, but they have.
Figure is a manufacturer. So they did half of the car. Tom Saltworks did the other half of the car. But yeah, basically you give them skin data, you give them a model, and it's not for everything. You know, it wouldn't be great in low crown panels, and there's a lot of places it's not great. But at the end of the day, like let's say you wanted to, make a vacuum form, and if it was a shape that you could use this technology for, instead of having to go through all of these different processes in order to make aluminum, which will hold up to the heat, you can go directly to part. And if you've got something that has a lot of heavy duty shape and you have multiple pieces that you need to make left or right, or heaven forbid, if you need to do 20 of them, I mean, man, it's a game changer,
Yeah. Yeah, you still like some people, some of the old school guys that don't quite get it, I think, and that's what your thing really proved. All the videos and stuff, the panels are there, but it still takes a craftsman to put it
Yeah.
together, to flange it, to do whatever, to make it into a car. You're not
Yeah.
getting rid of the English wheel and the planation hammer and all that stuff. It's just getting you a little bit further along. Like we were talking, we had a car that we started and didn't get to do. We were going to do a hood top for this Charger to go over this new motor, all that. And it's like talking to Tom is like, well, you could make it out of foam and Bondo, bring it to me, scan it, and put it. And he goes, it's going to be X amount of money, I think. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So if you're going to make that out of metal and metal finish it out to that nth degree, you're going to have a lot more hours in labor than that machine can create. It's like I say, it's not for everybody, but it's it's not as expensive as I thought it was on how they figure out how to bill it and stuff like that. But yeah, you had how many guys did you have there stitching that car together that week?
Oh my God. We had 22 people.
Yeah, look, the videos looked like there was like 122 people.
It was
Yeah.
so loud. It was so loud. I mean, yeah, it was insane. I mean, luckily, again, we were doing like 9 to 5. We took an hour for lunch. We'd have a 8:30 meeting, 8:30 to 9 o'clock meeting, and then we were thrashing. I mean, we were like, bam, bam. I mean, hammers and power hammers and planching hammers and English wheels and welders. I mean, it was, and the way we had planned on doing the video, we were going to be doing a lot of kind of interviews and stuff in the shop. And I would literally get into someone's ear and I'm yelling in their ear as loud as I could yell. And they're like, no idea. So we couldn't do any videoing in the room. So everything had to be basically an interview, or we had to walk outside or do it at lunch. So filming wise, we had to do some things that we didn't want to do. Going forward, I'm leaning on Roadster Shop to try to give me a date, because I finally got them the deposit to do the design work. So we got the design on the chassis ready. And so the next 5-day challenge that we're going to do is we're going to take the thing, we'll probably make some kind of bird cage around it, pull it off of the buck, and then we'll drop it down on the chassis, make the floor, do the edges of the hood, hopefully get the doors hinging, get the trunk deck lid hinging. And so that's kind of our next 5-day challenge that we're hoping to put together. And by the end of the week.
What's the motor going in that? Do you have the motor figured out yet?
Yeah, it's a V16. That's 16 power makes that.
Isn't that like what was Falconer? Was that guy?
Falconer was a different company. They're out of Australia, right?
Okay.
And they do a 12. And this is 2 LSs back to back. It was developed for the V16 or the 16, which was a concept car about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So it's a common block, common crank, common cam, but then you have they widen it by about an inch, and that allows them to use factory heads, factory intake manifolds, factory exhaust manifolds. So you're able to use some factory components, which help, keep the cost down, even though it's still $100,000 motor.
So you found a client for that? Because I know like Wheel Hub you were running an ad like trying to find a client to pick it up. Is it still yours, or are you still looking for a client for that?
Yeah, it's still mine. And so I've just decided I'm going to keep moving forward, and we'll keep rolling it. And I think it's probably going to be one of those cars that the kind of client I think is going to buy a car like this probably needs to see it rolling and seeing it a little farther along, if not just finished. And at the end of the day, I'm going to keep rolling on it, and at some point we'll put it on the block and let it roll.
Yeah, maybe it won't. Hopefully, it won't take 15 some
years. Okay. You don't have to go there.
When I think things that come out, I don't have that filter.
He has verbal diarrhea.
Yeah, I have verbal diarrhea. But we all have those. You go to every shop and there's something in the corner for either a customer, or the guys at the shop, or the owner. There's always something sitting there. It's like, oh yeah, someday I want to finish that. So yeah. But I
have more of the physical, like the physical poking that I like to do. Like if you have an injury, I just really want to like poke it. Poke it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
is there another car? One of my question is there a car that you've always wanted to build, whether it's for yourself or for a customer? I know you're building this Art Deco car, but there's got to be something else. Motorcycle, car.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch, but I'm finishing my old boat, which also too long. Finishing that this year. My uncle passed away, who did the keels and wheels in Houston, NASA area. This will be the 30th year for that. So they have classic boats and classic cars, and so finally finished my boat for that, which will be really fun. It's getting painted, cleared again this weekend, and this week, and but I've got a sketch for I call it Buickzilla. So it's basically a Buick 50 Buick version, which the 50 Buick grill is what that Plymouth has, that Pennywise car has. And so it's pretty much the same kind of technique that Larry Erickson did. They cut that car, not only pancaking it and putting a different roof on it, but they cut it above, like below the kind of windows of the door and the rear quarter. So they dropped all that area before they put that top on, which is one of the reasons it looks sectioned, because it really thins that car out a lot.
We had earlier this year, right? We had Larry Erickson as a guest on our podcast. That's a really
cool.
Good interview.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he said he'd maybe help me. I'm sure he's out of my budget, but I have a 40 Merc that is my someday car.
Yeah,
still at the barn. It hasn't even made it into the shop yet, and I'm trying. Yeah, I was trying to get Tom Taylor to come out of retirement when we had him on there, and he won't do it. But I'm sure I can't afford. Yeah.
It seems weird, like, I mean, I sketch stuff people for free all the time, like, I don't know, like, it seems like so fun to just, when you have that kind of talent, sit there in the morning having coffee and sketch some shit. That doesn't seem like work, but I guess, they probably kind of like me with sheet metal. It's like, I'm sure once you've had to do it proficiently, it's probably too, like, I know for me, once I've done something to a high level, like a sport, it's hard to go back later on and know you're out of practice. And I can imagine that, like, if you're a professional designer, I used to think it would be so fun. Like, oh my God, you just draw and like, you're gonna come up with ideas and da-da-da. And then now that I've spent some time doing it, like, it can be freaking hard, to come up when you're on the spot. You're like, when you're inspired and you're like, oh, this is really cool. And 2 weeks go by and you're like, oh, this is really cool. But when you're 8 hours a day of like, I need a good idea from you right now.
Yeah, somebody leaning over your shoulder. Is it done yet? What'd you come up with? Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
You couldn't come up with anything other than that?
So I like the idea of the Buick. I'm a sled guy at heart. I love customs. I wish more people build customs. Everything I do for myself is custom inspired. And I just love lead sleds, chopped. That's what I love. I mean, I like early hot rods and stuff too, but I don't see myself building a third gen Camaro. No offense to your son. I like them, but I like the older lead sled stuff.
Yep. Yeah, me too. I've really got into hot rods again. I've got I was looking for like a 32, I was thinking like, I miss the 32 Roadsters. I got tired of them when I lived in LA. They were just everywhere. And, but here you don't see them much. So I was like, I want to like period hot rod, period 32, 33. And I stumbled on this Model T and decided to put, like hot rod flathead parts and stuff in it. And, so we're finishing it up right now. It's going to Barrett Jackson in January here, pretty quick.
That's got a flathead in it?
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking it was a different motor. I was thinking it was more modern than a flathead. I don't know why. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a 70-mile-an-hour Model T.
It's funny. I had a dream the other day about a buddy that I grew up with that's still in the car world. He doesn't have a shop, but he's big into drag racing and helps find cars that are missing and stuff like that. I had a dream that we moved back to our small town, and not hard to believe, we were running from the cops together, and he's had funny cars and pro street cars, and I've had pro street cars and big motor stuff. We were running away from the police in a bone stock Model T. Like, the cop could have caught us on foot, but that one I had to call my buddy, and he's like, yeah, we probably didn't get away, but what did we do? I go, I don't know, but he didn't, he's like, yeah, cops may have been chasing us, for some reason, but on all my dreams, it was a stock Model T that we were running away in.
Yeah, you're not going very far. You get speed wobbles at like 25.
Yeah.
That sounds like
that car, man. That car is such a hoot. I mean, I love that car. And everybody's like, I can't believe you're selling, because everybody knows me. Just knows, like, I'm taking everybody around the block. I've taken car guys that have done done everything that you could possibly imagine in this world that have never ridden in a Model T.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've commuted in the thing. I got thousands of miles on it already. And I'm just like, I really think I stumbled onto kind of a special package, So I've already bought the rails to start the second one. And hopefully, it does enough. I mean, regardless, I'm going to build myself one after Barrett. So it really doesn't matter. I'm going to build another one. But I'm hoping that I can, make enough of these things where I can basically, sell people a frame kit so that they can take a $5,000 Model T, and which is painted and upholstered, and drop it onto this cool little chassis and build yourself a fun toy at home that doesn't cost you, $100,000 to get into the car.
Yeah, there's one I came across that was like, I get to see a lot of cool collections. This one is a private collection in Oklahoma. That's what I'm going to say. Wasn't allowed to take pictures in it. I knew the one guy that worked at the shop. He doesn't work there anymore. But anyway, they took a Model T and modernized it kind of like you did, but different. It still looks old. It's still got the big wheels. They updated the bearings. It does have like Willwood brakes on it. I mean, I think it's got a four banger, and it had like, not like a Riley head or something, but it was like something, four letters that
I
started
think
with
Riley,
Jamco or Jano or some head on it that was an aluminum head. And so it didn't have a V motor in it. It was still had an inline like a four cylinder. And they
yeah,
built that
yep,
thing up. When they started it, it sounded like a damn Harley was running there. Just
yeah,
and they had
yeah,
trouble, whatever they did to it, had
yeah,
trouble keeping the motor together because it was so stupidly built for what it was. It
sure,
wasn't like
yeah,
he couldn't have commuted in it, but he could cruise around
yeah.
and it was the coolest thing because it still looked original. And I was like, well, why does it have Willwood brakes on it? It was a couple things like little flags. It's like, oh, let us show you the motor, and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. But, yeah,
Have you been to American Speed Museum in Nebraska,
yeah,
Speedway Motors?
uh-huh.
So, like they've got a whole floor of T speed parts.
Yeah,
That was kind of mind blowing, especially because I was working on a T. But to see that there was this whole speed era before the V8 came out, I had no idea. Like I
yeah,
just
a
really didn't
whole bunch of
understand
different
that there was a
companies.
tons of shit going on. Yeah.
Yeah, that museum is
So
incredible. We just did the Rod and Custom Car Hall of Fame induction up there this year. That was our first time going there. And what is it, 350,000 feet, three levels. They're getting ready to add on another 80 some thousand square feet next year. It's not just cars, it's museum speed. There's a BMX stuff there. There's, go
yeah.
karts. The Unser Museum's all there. And then, like, the fan favorite is in that one stairwell is lunch boxes, like, unbelievable amount of lunch boxes. I mean, it's the most, I go to a lot of museums. It's incredible. That place is mind blowing.
Yeah, you gotta wonder when there's a Unser IndyCar sitting there, you know, you gotta wonder that the lunchbox is the fan favorite. But that's just me.
Yeah, well, that means not all people that go to the museum are car
Car
people.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which they just opened the Unser in the last year. They got all the Unser Museum from Albuquerque and moved it all there. I don't know if you've been there since that's there. So like you walk in,
Man,
the
I
main
can't. I
is
went in like
all
March. I went in March
Annoying.
this year, and I was floored. I mean, I was really just blown away how incredible that museum was.
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. So your questions, Carrie? Carrie always has two questions.
I do. My two questions are that you guys have been talking for an hour and 40 minutes. Is your favorite show that you love to go to? And what is one show that you've never been to that is on your bucket list?
Well, definitely the one I haven't been to would be Goodwood. That's definitely
Very
the
popular.
one I keep dreaming of. Keep trying to figure out how to get over there. I just went to the Wheel Hub Live this year at the Speedway Museum. That was a really fun time. They had a cool tour on Friday. We did the tea there, and I went to the Gathering at the Rock this year for the first time. So those were two events that I've kind of really tried to branch out this year and do new things. And just to
Mhm.
add, like I know a lot of all us bike guys know Barber, which is in Birmingham, the Barber Museum, but a lot of the car guys don't know about it. And it's like the American Speed Museum, but mainly bikes.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy. We were
so
just there.
definitely,
Carrie's birthday, we were there because her Optimus series that they run, the Search for the Ultimate Street Card, had an event, and then she started her road trip tour, Cars and Cones, and we started there, so I got to go in there. I want to build a bike for my living room.
sick, right?
Carrie says no. I love the board track era bikes, and I look at it, it's like if I could find somebody that could 3D print me the motor that I need for one of those, I could build all the other stuff just to make it look like an art piece out of BMX hubs, BMX
Sure.
wheels, BMX head tube, and I could make all the other stuff. And don't make it functional, but just I need somebody that can 3D print me a motor that I need. So let me know if you come
Why are you
across.
saying no? Why are you saying no over there?
I'm not saying no. I'm saying reality. There's a lot of other shit that needs to get done first.
That is true. That
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah, I
We're
know
not
that
getting
one.
any younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to stay focused, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And
squirrel, shiny
yeah.
object,
You know,
That is Tim, 100%.
yeah.
rusty BMX.
Yeah.
No, it's like,
No, I don't like
shiny.
rusty ones.
There's
No,
nothing
like all
shiny over
BMX,
here.
but just yeah. But that being a nerd at BMX has helped. I've got to do a few events for the internet this year for Flow Racing for the coverage and work the grands and interview amateur champions and stuff. So my nerdism into BMX has paid off this summer finally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Yeah, I think competition distributing, I think is the one you need to look at. And yeah, he's not going to really buy it, but to go dream about that bike, go look at competition distributing. They're using a lot of 3D printing of metal. They bought their own printer, in fact, to print the lugs like on the front of the heads, dropouts on the axles, and they're doing their own motors, from top to bottom, 3D printing of metal. So really incredible technology, man.
I was thinking just plastic. That was in my budget. So I'm going to take a note or track.
It's the bad thing about the 3D printing of metal. It doesn't seem like they have a whole lot of rejects. When it was casting, you're like, look, man, just send me the blends. You got ones with pits. I'll weld them up. No
What
problem.
was that place called?
Competition Distributing.
Okay. I couldn't spell it. Wouldn't even pick up my words. So
You spell it that bad?
yeah, it was that bad. It said I got distribution down. I got that's enough. So yeah. So as we wind this almost 2-hour interview up here, anybody you'd like to thank along for your career? You want to thank your wife and thank your kid for getting you into
man. Like obviously I mentioned a bunch of them, but yeah, after 20 years now at the shop, I'm really appreciating customers that allow us to do what we do. We have a super cool team that, indulges my crazy passions and kind of helps make everything at the shop. They're super fun. Like I love training young guys, and we've got a handful that are, kind of taken from didn't know how to TIG, didn't know how to do a lot. And, I probably have, there's 4 of them in the building at this point that have been around for a long time, started as what felt like kids. And now they're becoming like real badasses. So it's super fun and gratifying to watch. So very blessed to have a lot of great people around me.
Cool.
Awesome. So one of the things I don't see there in the background is a go-kart. You guys still practicing go-karts? So you
Oh yeah, in fact, we went with Jet. Remember that we went to Atlanta Motorsports Park.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we raced in the rain.
That's right.
We got to be really good friends with Tyler Spear, the boat racer, and that's what we said. That's why he was the fastest, because it was wet and we were racing on water. I didn't know at that time that he was a former ARCA driver too. I did not know that, but yeah. That's a really good interview to listen to Tyler Spear talking about nitro boat racing. That's a very in-depth, very good interview we did.
That was fun that day.
Yeah,
that seems super scary.
Yeah.
It's a wonder nobody died that day. It was like Mario Kart when we first took off. We were spinning every which way that day.
I think we need to do another challenge.
Yeah, I keep telling you, doesn't own Industrial Depot anymore, but I was like, you need to get everybody back together for a go-kart challenge at Atlanta Motorsports Park. Yeah.
That would be a fun weekend, like a hot rodders go-kart weekend, you know.
One of the funniest things that we tell about all that time, you had so we had
I know exactly where you're going.
Carrie's used to work with her and do booths and stuff. Good looking brunette Chelsea was with us, and you had Jackson Kahn with you, which he's married now.
Yeah.
Chelsea's engaged.
This was years ago.
This was years ago. I don't remember how long ago we did that.
Right around the time that you were moving his shop.
Maybe
like 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And we were hanging out, and he was like, he come over to her, and she's talking and laughing, and I can say this comfortably. Jackson's a good-looking dude. He's a good-looking man. He is, right?
He's like, I'm not saying
he's a good-looking man. And he said something to Chelsea, like, you want me to get you a drink or something like that? And she just dropped her whole facial expressions and went, nope, and turned her back on him. Like, I've never seen somebody shot down so quick. Poor Jackson. Luckily, he found a nice, good-looking girl to marry. And,
just sit there looking at us like...
Because he was on your team, wasn't he, Jackson?
Did you guys just see that?
Yeah. Jackson Kahn, Sylacauga, Alabama. I just went to their wedding.
I see him every once in a while. He's a great guy. He's a
hoot. Yeah, he's a hoot. That whole family is awesome.
We didn't even talk about that. You guys did Courtney's show too. You did Your Life for second.
Yeah.
You did second season, right? He was on the first season. Was he on the second season too? Jackson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. He was in the first half of the season. And it's streaming on Max right now. Did you get to see it?
I don't know if I've seen the first season. I don't know if I've seen like one episode of season 2, I think. So I'll have to look it up. So
yeah, if you get to go look, I think they turned out really fun. We did a lot of different cars. The crew is hilarious. We had a bunch of different guys, Sosa and Ian, and I mean, we had tons of characters that came in and out, and I thought it really turned out good. Like I think it's a super fun season. So if you get a second,
I know, like you, same way. You knew Courtney from overhauling. Well, I was at the Power Block same time as Courtney was there. So, Courtney, the way she is and how she talks to people is always very entertaining, and she worked very hard to put those shows together. And we just seen her at PRI. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I think it's a great season. She's a hoot. I mean, man, she's just, everybody asks me about her. I'm like, she's a force of nature. Like, that's really
she can make stuff happen.
She can move mountains. Yeah, that chick, man, you put that girl in a direction, you better watch out.
Yeah. Always enjoyed working with Courtney. So. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up. We have talked for almost 2 hours, if you can believe that.
It was awesome.
That was really fun. Thanks, y'all, for having me on.
Yep.
This will be the first episode of season 3, and it'll be the first week of 2026.
That's hard to say, isn't it? Wow. 2026 in like a week and a half is week or whatever when we record this. So we always record them a little. So you'll be the start of the new year.
Yep, new year, new season.
Awesome. Well, welcome to 2026.
Yeah.
Get your asses out there and build something.
It's going to be a great year.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you on social media to follow along on some of your current stuff and a couple of your never-ending projects.
Yep. Fuller Moto. Really you?
It's the 15-year. I've wanted to see that street, the hot rod, the what do you call that? I lost the name
Public
of it.
Enemy. It's coming.
The Public Enemy. I've been wanting to see that thing up, so I'm going to remind you every time I see it until it's done. Unless you show me another
Grand
cool
National
bicycle. Let it slide.
Grand National 2027.
Okay.
Yes, Fuller Moto. Instagram probably is our biggest. Same with the website, Fuller Moto. YouTube, Fuller Moto. We've hit that a little bit. And HBO Max, you can catch Ride of Your Life with Courtney Hansen. So appreciate you guys having me. We're out.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.